Well,
I thoroughly enjoyed the last session we had, but I thought it would be interesting to get Guy's input as well because he's known me all these years.
Mhm.
He first met me, was it in Belgium?
in Belgium, in Mortsel, and one of the first times I think you came to Belgium. It must be early 90s, something.
Mhm.
And at that time, I was doing very long time already, 20 years something, Schutteke. And I like to see the announcement of are you happy with the two first moves of Hayan Yondan, and it says knockdown karate. So I thought, oh yeah, that might be fine, and I went to it, and yeah, ever since then I've been following.
It obviously worked, by the way.
It obviously worked. And ever since then, yeah, I always try to follow him
He used to come to Nottingham to my seminars in Nottingham
and to
and
US.
and to America a couple of
Yeah, yeah,
times.
yeah.
Wow.
And then you came to my dojo
Yo, many
many times.
Yeah.
And little by little, he always be my sensei, but little by little he became my friend, and I think so. Yeah.
That's a bit presumptuous.
Look at
And
that.
the last 2 years, I'm living now in France, and we are not living far from each other.
A couple of miles, that's
yeah.
all. So we train 3 or 4 times a week
Yeah,
together, which is brilliant for me.
Mhm.
Because I have to say, he's one of the toughest students I've ever had. And he's not just a student now, he's the chief instructor for Europe. He's that good. There are a lot of clips of him around too, which I can let you have too. You can see what he's doing. But he's students love being Izuki about as much as they love being mine, which more or less says it all.
Yeah, that makes a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I still remember being your rookie.
Oh, really?
And that was
the 73 grown.
just ish.
I can't forget it. It's a few times a week for me.
But did you have fun?
Always. Yeah, it was great. Absolutely amazing. And yeah, I mean, I think, again, as I said some time ago, it really sort of started me off on the right path and pushed me in the way I went rather than, because I always knew there was something wrong with the 3Ks and it never seemed to all fit together. And then, so I got you in and I got someone else we won't mention in, but
you
came in.
Like, I mean, there's a lot, you can get some good stuff from anybody, even if they're doing it wrong. If you learn it, if you see that it's wrong, you've learned from that.
It was his actions afterwards that the non-karate actions that shouldn't have been actions, shall we say.
Okay. We'll talk about that in private, I think.
Yeah.
Karate's changed hugely in a large number of dojo, but unfortunately, at least going by what I see every day, even today on Facebook, there's a clip of Asai and people are salivating over his attempts to show Bunkai from Nijushi Ho. And you could drive 2 double-decker buses between him and Izuki in Gedan Barai waiting to attack. It's laughable. Absolutely. And I can't bring myself to say, really? Because they think, oh, it's Vince again. But damn it, why can't these idiots see that it's wrong? He's got great technique. I used to like Asa. I first met him when I was in the, I was a team captain in, in Dubai, I think. No, it wasn't. It's somewhere. Anyway, I thought he was the only one I saw doing a demonstration of not standard JKA textbook Gyakuzukis and you stand there while I do it and I hold on to your fist so I can not fall over when I do Mawashi. He did interesting stuff. And I thought, okay, fair enough. But what I've just seen on him today, it's rubbish. And there's about a dozen people saying, "Oh, orgasm, fantastic! Thank you for putting these clips on." And I think, fuck, what's the matter with you people? Which bar do you ever go to where people stand on the other side of it to attack you? And then if you get it wrong, you say, "I'll step back, we do it again." Fuck, I'm sorry, but where is reality going to dawn on these people?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back on my hobby horse. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
that's fine.
and I don't
It's
mind
very
if they want to
frustrating.
do that, do it, but don't flag it as bunkai. It's not. It's imagination in their own world of, you know, televisual stuff where you can stop it and do it in slow motion, and when if you get it wrong, cut, do it again, take number 93. You can't do that in reality. It's either got to work now or you're dead. And I see none of that in these people. And I think, what a shame. And then they say, well, we don't do it for self-defense. Well, why don't you take up knitting? That's not self-defense either. Well, it's a martial art. It can't be, can it? If you don't want to use it to, you know, defend yourself, what's a martial art for if it's not, you know, interacting physically with another person in a defensive situation? Well, it's to win medals. Oh, right, okay. Well,
I mean, I've got some sympathy with that point of view. But I rarely hear anyone saying, I don't do it for self-defense. They will usually say, oh,
you're not on the same Facebook that I'm on. Sorry.
but no, I mean, even with yeah. So if someone says, I'm just doing it as it's a way of fitness, then I'm sort of like, well, okay, if that's what you want to do.
We're both okay with that. Yeah, lovely.
But it's
great form of just being fit.
Yeah, but when they're showing that sort of shit and saying it's going to work.
Well, that's where it falls down, isn't it?
And that's where I sort of think I had the trouble originally, because it's like, well, this is what you're doing. This is the kata. It's nothing like you do in sparring. No one was trying to explain the kata. And you're like, well, what the fuck am I doing this for? And then
exactly.
And then you see something like that where someone's attacking from 4 miles away, and you're like, that doesn't look like a punch up in Swindon to me.
As a man that knows.
Well, it's Swindon, isn't it? There's a lot of punch ups in Swindon. So, and then you think, so do you understand this? Am I missing something? And that's when and I think a lot of people got to the same stage as me where you think, shall I just give karate up and do something else? And that's when I found your stuff. Yeah. And I was suddenly like, hang on, this looks more like it. And everything blossomed from there.
Well, I'm proud about that, but disappointed that you're one of the few. Because you must have realised that yourself, you know, because you must be outnumbered in your area, in Swindon even, by regular JKA type dojos. Or
it's amazing. I mean, my dojo is really small. I've got people who travel 45 minutes to an hour to come and train with me. But my dojo is probably one of the smallest in the whole of Swindon, which makes no sense to me. I mean, I've told Brian and Bob this before. We had a guy who used to come to seminars with different people, and he's like, I really like this stuff, really like this stuff. And I said, well, break away from your group. And he's like, but who would do gradings? I said, you can do gradings. Or I said, or I'll come up and do grading. He's like, yeah, but I don't know. He comes to every seminar, wouldn't break away, carried on doing 3K stuff 90% of his time. It's bizarre. I don't understand it at all.
Ego
is
driving a lot, and reputation and status, as if any of that matters. Why are you giving other people sticks to hit you with? You know, what they think about you shouldn't care. You shouldn't mind about that, because if you're doing something that you know is right and you can see, I have a little hook line, or if I have a little thing to say, when people say, well, I don't know, and I say, try me. Go on. and if you don't end up on the floor, then okay, I'll give you your point. But it doesn't happen, because I know bloody well what I'm doing this now for how many 50 years. And I mean, I started with Asano when I was in my late 20s, and I'm 80 this year.
how many times do we have
Oh,
techniques we try and we say,
Oh,
no, doesn't work.
this is the other thing. Right. My life here is obviously still centered on the martial arts. And what Guy and I do, we both had experience of teaching forces, police, and we're still doing it here in the town that we're in now. We give free seminars to the chief of police and his people and things like that and whatever. So we're rooted in reality. I mean, one of the Kisaki mottos is reality, not ritual. And we see these people almost famous on Facebook and on YouTube. They're saying, this is how you defend against the knife. And this is how you get out of a naked rear choke. Now, I'm lucky because Guy, he's bigger than me and he's stronger than me. He's younger than me. He's not as good looking, but he's a hell of a, I tell you, he's a hell of a sensei, and he won't let me get away with anything. So what we do, we take the video clip of what we're watching and we say, right, into the dojo, let's just see if it works. And you know what?
A lot of times.
What do you think?
Well, most of the time it doesn't.
Yeah.
If you really try it, yeah, it works as long as you go with it, and
Come over this way a bit.
you go with it, and your uke is complying with you.
Yeah.
Then it works very well. But as soon as you act realistic,
Well, that's one of
most
the
of the
things I
time.
see a lot in the clips that I look at, and I do have a bit of a bee in the bonnet about it, is what I call problems to fit solutions. Somebody comes
Yeah.
up with something cool that looks really good and works well, and they
Yeah,
modify the problem such that that works with it. It's not
Well,
realistic, it's not what people do, but if we change the rules of the game, then this technique works.
Then
then
it
it
works.
works. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Well, we
that's
just,
reverse engineering. That's not how it works.
well,
actually.
for example, with our knife defences. Now, remember, I've been teaching these since Police Academy 25 years ago. And I've modified them a lot because I've learned in that period of time. But one of the best things we've got lately is one of these practice knives that lights up if you
And
get
beeps.
and beeps, goes beep, and the blade lights up if it gets to you. And that certainly teaches you what's going to work and what doesn't. So other than cutting your own throat with a real knife, it's the best thing you can get. But then we look at what these people on these clips are doing. You think, oh, they've got no idea. They've no idea. And can I just say something here? This week, I'm expecting the first delivery of the new edition of Rules of Combat. It's been 20 years since I wrote the first edition, and it's now 240 pages long. So it's a much expanded, bigger version. And we've just got the proofs through, and it's arriving this week. Why do I bring that up? Because what we see time and time again is that when people do defensive techniques, they don't work from a system. They react to what they see and they say, oh, well, we can do this technique or we can grab that technique. But there are things they don't do, like they don't use a distraction. They don't analyze how the guy's standing. So to say 90% of the time, they'll use a right fist rather than a left. They don't move to a position of advantage. They don't get out of the line of fire. They stand there. Even worse, sometimes they go backwards. There are all these rules of combat that now is 240 odd pages long. Actually, the rules aren't that long. It's just I try to explain them so people can understand them. But if you don't go into a fight with a plan, what are you going to do? You're going to rely on instant kind of karma, that you're going to instantly see the answer to what's going on, or you're likely going to stand there with your thumb up your backside thinking, oh shit, because you've got no plan. Yes, we know plans fall apart the first time you get punched in the face, but for example, we've invented a new block from Kankudai, from here, Kankudai. Now before that, from Niju Shiho, we've got what we call the Frisbee-uki, which is your arm goes out like that. And that way you can stop baseball bats, you can stop. I mean, my challenge was to people, give me the hardest punch in the world you can ever do. And I never got hit, never. But now we've made it even better because I'm a martial artist that teaches not just people in the dojo, but women, small people, older people, police officers, female officers. It doesn't matter. You cannot stop Godzilla by just doing that. So we've changed it now. We make it more of a more shiuki into that. So now it's stop anything. But even better, we've now come up with a solution. I always wonder, why would you want to do that in Kankudai? Well, my first reaction a few years ago was to think about flinch reflex defenses. Something happens, oh, you do that, your hands go up. And so we worked on teaching that as a method of reacting that you can then control. Rather than it being involuntary, you take it over and do something with it. But now we've got another where it actually comes up like, and you augment it with your fist here, like so. I don't know if you can see it. But that, when you do that, you could hit that with every power that you've got on your body, and all you'll do is probably break your own forearm. And it leads from that bang straight into a knockout from brachial plexus strike or gallbladder occipital strike. Not magic, using the body's natural intrinsic reactions to pain and to disturbing the electrical conductivity in the brain and so on. So you just got to go bang and it's there. That's, you know, like your Kankudai starts there. But it's just that the reason it happened was because I got so annoyed at people saying, oh, this is Kamai. I'm standing on one leg, one hand out and the other hand up here. And that's a ready position. For what? What the fuck are you ready for? I mean, snapshot of the year.
Yeah, you're ready to have smoke, I take it.
Oh, well, we've got a reason for it. The first block, this is, what's it called? Yeah, Gedenbarai, Manjiuki. Gedenbarai stops a kick from the front, and the other one stops, this one stops a kick from behind. I said, how many centuries are you going to wait for that to happen? So you can justify having learned that technique. If that's what it is, forget it. You just do not understand. It's actually, there are lots of reasons for that. You know, one of my favorites is a it's a single wing choke from behind, and you've got the collar here, pulling it up here, and you're stamping on the guy's Achilles tendon at the same time. They're fucked. No, I'll wait for somebody to attack me with my Gary from the front, we'll watch you go from the back, and then go home happy. Unbelievable. But my point is, we're not. Did I have a point? I switch bits on and he'll talk forever.
I got
the rules of combat thing.
But the point was that it can't just be us, people like you guys and us, that can see the stupidity of what's going on. I used to say the same things that you just said to Asana after a session. I said, Sensei, we've just done kata, yes? Hey. And then before that, oh no, then we do kumite, yes? Yeah. Why doesn't anything we've done in the last kata session look like anything we're doing in kumite? I said, even when you're doing it, you don't do any kata moves. He just hit me on the head and said, more training.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the answer. So I'm monopolizing things. Ask questions if you want. Or,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
You know,
That's fine.
you.
I think, yeah, problem is there's sort of a bit of a middle ground going on these days as well. There's an acceptable face of practical karate, which seems to have become mostly what you see on social media and out on the circuit. So I think people looking at the sort of thing that you're doing and the sort of thing we're working towards doing still isn't that favourable. There's sort of this slightly polished, recognisable middle ground for people who are transitioning between the two. But I got the feeling that most of them sort of getting stuck in that area. Do you see many people?
Yeah, it's a lot easier to be in that little pond because you know what the attack is going to do. And you also know he's not going to really hit you. So
Mhm.
if you fuck it up, it doesn't matter. We'll try it again.
It
Yes.
also depends what you want to do with your dojo, I think. Back in the years, I had a pretty large Shotokan dojo. And after a few years, when I introduced it permanently, Kisaki in my dojo, we dropped after a year 75% of the members,
Mhm.
and they never came back because it was completely different. It was more depending, and it was not so easy for people to get to it. And I think it depends what you want with your dojo. A lot of people want a lot of numbers in their dojo.
It's a business.
It's a business, and
Yeah.
I think if you do real stuff, you do good karate, you will never get that amount of members in your dojo, I think.
No,
So-
and I think that's fine.
think
Again,
that's
because
common.
everybody knows what they're doing and why they're doing it, so they find themselves in the right
Mhm.
Oh,
place.
but that's true. You've hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think some of these Japanese, and not just the Japanese, but I've seen a few people. I wish I could have kicked like that when I could kick. I never could kick as good as these guys, and they're fantastic and they're great. But please do not tell people it's bunkai. For a start, there was never any spinning back mawashis in the bloody bunkai. These people are farmers that were doing it. I'll just put my shovel down here and hold. Of course, it's the wrong Okinawan accent, but it's as close as I can get. But I wish I could do all that, but I'm bloody too old now. I can't swing my leg out of bed sometimes. I might swing it up for Showdown Mikazuki Gary's. But if senses came on and showed their technique and then said, right, now you can practice it by having somebody punch you like that. But why don't they just say, don't go into a low stance. Stand up like it is in reality. Now punch. And don't stand over the other side of the room. Stand in my face. Now let's see how you do that fantastic jumping, spinning back kick. But they never do that.
Mhm.
And that's the reason why people like you guys and me and Guy, we don't really think, but it's not real. Why do we want to sell something that's not real to students who may put their lives on the line trying to emulate you? And that's the thing, you're teaching people a false sense of security, and that should never be. That's not, I mean, all this shit that's been on now because I criticised Kanezawa for catching the sword. Did you see that clip that I put on there? Where they're doing, what's the kata?
Basai Sho.
Basai Sho. This catch, and he this Uki, who's a Westerner, he's got a katana, and Kanezawa said, "Oh, turn it around, hold it by the blade, hit me with the hilt." Fuck. And then he's doing this, and then Kanezawa goes, drags the blade right across his finger. Oh yeah, that's it, guys. We'll all do that. I've had hundreds of people commenting on that. If you haven't seen it, go to my Facebook page and watch it. Because I start off by saying I don't want to be disrespectful, but really. And then I've had people saying, you cannot criticize Kanezawa. He's the best there's ever been. I think, oh, fuck me. What do you mean he's God now? And then another guy says, it's a bow. It's the light shining off a highly polished bow with a hilt.
I'd like to see him do that with a bow. I mean,
Yeah.
frankly, a properly
same-
swung bow.
Yeah,
It won't work with a bow either.
No, exactly.
Right. Well, I found that when I was training with the boy, and you find somebody with intent swinging 6 foot of solid oak at you, you ain't catching
Yeah.
that fucker with.
No, you're not.
No.
You should then do the frisbee uki defense we're talking about, because it will never hit you. You'll take it off him and put him on the ground within 2 seconds.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Everyone should learn that, because I'm not right. It's Vince talking about Kisaki techniques. Yes, because otherwise, what am I here for? I guarantee that if you do this right, You can be attacked by a sword. You can be attacked by a club. We've got pictures of us doing attack by an axe. It'll never get to you if you do the technique right, and we're guaranteed you'll end up with the weapon and the guy on the floor within a couple of seconds. Now,
there's not much chance that we see that you met someone on the street with a katana or a bow from 1.80 meters. Probably it will be a baseball bat. Huh?
Yeah. And so, but anyway, the point is, again, we try to base things on reality. And if the people that came, the senses came to the dojo and said, we're not teaching you self-defense, we're teaching you a set of martial techniques. And then it's up to you to decide when to apply them. And you can start, I've no objection to people starting off by, okay, punching like that. But then within minutes, tell them, no, stop spreading your legs a mile wide, stand up properly, bend your knees like a boxer. How would you fight a boxer? Well, have you ever seen a Japanese sensei stand up against someone and say, pretend you're a boxer? Now we'll do the bunkai. Not ever. I guarantee you've never seen that once in your whole careers, because they won't do it, because they know it won't work from close range. And do I still respect them? No, not really. I think there are so many Westerners now whose technique is as good, if not even better, than the hardline Japanese. Unfortunately, a lot of them go down the same route, because they know if you want to show off a technique that goes Mawashi, Ushiro Mawashi, you better have your partner standing still. Because if he's moving, you're fucked. It ain't going to happen. And also, it helps if he sticks his hand out for you to lean on while you do it.
Okay. Certainly does for me, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It works for me too, I'll tell you the truth now, but I never use it. I'm too ashamed to do that. I couldn't bring myself to do that.
One of the things that I've seen is a lot of people don't recognise the stuff that people like us do as karate. You know, it's difficult to film it, it's difficult to see it, because you haven't got that big wide space with everybody standing in stance where you can tell who's doing what and when.
True.
I remember donkeys years back, I tried to do a bunkai session in my classic dojo, and all I heard at the end of it was guys might say, yeah, this isn't karate, so it looks a lot more like sumo than anything else, just because we were in there in each other's faces, grappling and rolling around.
Bad technique.
Yeah, but it's not, that's not karate. And I was always told off for grabbing people.
Oh, really? Yeah. But here's the thing. It's sometimes if you get that sort of attitude, you just want to face them and say, look, travel back in your imaginations to Okinawa 200 years ago. Tell me one technique we've done now, which we'd think might be just the way they were doing it then. Well, none. I mean, say, well, that's karate. And it was all the time until Funakoshi introduced it into Japan and then changed it beyond belief. So all these people saying it's not karate, they have no idea what is karate then? Do you mean the original karate, the defensive karate, or what you've got since post Funakoshi? Well,
yeah. And again, I think that's where communicating with people is difficult, because we're all using the same words for completely different things.
Yeah. Not quite sure what you mean.
Well, the fact that I'm going to say the fact that we consider karate to be and what they consider karate to be.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Two totally different things.
Yeah.
You know, and we're trying to look at a common ground between, well, no, this means this and this should, but they're so diverse now, so diverged, that although the terminology is the same, when you're talking about something, they're thinking about something else entirely.
Well, do we ever see it changing though? I mean, I haven't got that many years left to go. I mean, am I going to see any basic changes, or am I just going to have to accept it is what it is?
Well, I don't know, because people like us have followed on behind. I say that as if that's achieved anything particularly much. But
I wonder where it was.
Yeah, I think we're still sort of, we're very niche market, aren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
To be honest, I've more or less recognised that now. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm very grateful for the fact that we're still adding dojos to Kisaki. You know, but I do understand that it's not everyone's cup of tea. For example, and I'll give you a reason why it isn't. You all know what Ippon Kumite is. You know, one person attacks, the other person immediately reacts and defends. But what we've changed now is we make sure we put a helmet on and a body protector because we don't stop. Now you do it not over, well, rule of combat, I don't know what number it is, it's never over till the attacker's on the floor. And that's what our Ippon Kumite is now. It's not pull and defend and, you know, nice technique. Yeah, no, we do it. Does it work? Headbutts, look, you got helmets on, elbow strikes, the whole thing. But you have to be a sort of right mentality to want to do that. And lots of people don't want to do that. And they just say, oh no, that's. I remember I taught Cheki in a dojo in England. And I got into it for about half an hour. And one of the students came and said, we don't want to do this. What? No, well, we were always taught that Techie was a 2-person flow drill. And you're hitting us. Fuck. What did I do? I kept on. But, you know, if they'd have told me beforehand, this is no touch, we don't ever call, you know, that's another thing. But if your students sincerely don't want to put on a helmet and pads and arm pads and go for it, nothing you can do about it. I mean, you can't despise them for that. It's their choice. It's a free world. If some of them freely want to do what we want to do, that's fine too, because we think it pays benefits. But we have to accept that part of the class maybe would rather do kata techniques or rather do techniques against a bag or a pad. Well, even that's difficult though for some of them because they're mostly not able to do that. I mean, if you put Sensei Gi's got this, it's a warm up. But it's followed by a lot of lying down. Because it's pretty good. I love it. But you know, you've got a bag, you lie on your back, and oh no, the guy's got the bag. You come up, you punch it back down, come up, push up, stomach muscle, bang bang, come on, bang bang. Then he's got the bang 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 bang. Well, what's going? And we go. By the time they've done 10 minutes of that, they're fucked. Well, not all of them. Obviously, some of them are in good shape too, but a lot of them are. It's going to take them a while to get back to normal. But it's a good warm up. Yeah, I'll give you that. But it's not for everybody. And if we see people not doing it, if I'm doing a seminar, he's taking this warm up, and I'm looking at people. I mean, if I think they're young and fit and should be doing it, I'll go up and encourage them. But if it's somebody a bit more elderly or half my age even, and they're taking, I just think, fair enough, okay, just try a couple, you know, don't go crazy, save yourself. But we've got to be more open to the fact that not all the students want to do what we want to do. And if you ignore that, you'll lose the students. I don't know exactly how you're going to structure your classes to encompass all that, but it must be possible. It must be possible at some stage. For example, when we teach weapons defenses, you've only got a limited amount of guns and a limited amount of knives and baseball bats. So not the whole 30 or 40 students can do the same thing at the same time. So you give a few the guns, a few the baseball bats, and a few the knives, and then we show the techniques, and then we rotate the group round. Now, it occurs to me that in your dojo for empty hand stuff, you could more or less do the same thing. If you've got people that say, oh, Sensei, I really don't want to do that. And then, okay, well, you do this bit of it, just do this bit and increase your distance. And then you go over to the diehards and say, okay, now get in there.
Also with the Ippon Kumite. Also with the Ippon Kumite, that we started the same thing like we do in Shotokan, Yodan, left, right, Judan, left, right, but we start Yodan and we left we leave
Oh,
the arm
yeah,
there
this is good.
out, and so they can learn the technique, and then we hit with retracting arm.
Yeah.
That's more realistic. And after that has happened, then we learn the follow-up. The first follow-up is just counter-attack, real counter-attack without get them to the ground. And the last stage is they hit and retract, and you counter-attack and you bring them to the ground. And after that, you can put on the helmets and
then you go for it.
it's a
Let me
learning
ex- yeah.
stage.
Let me explain this bit about the retracting because it's vital. Ippon Kumite, don't care whether you want to do it Japanese old-fashioned style or real style. The point is, what happens is the first time you go punch, and then the defender does whatever the technique is. Yes, we accept that. But then, because I hate hikite and because I know it's not real, you go punch and hand retracts immediately. Have you blocked it or have you missed it? What are you going to do now? Because that punch is going to come again. No, it isn't. It's the other hand's coming now. So we've worked out a whole sequence of you do not do this old boom, hold it there. Yes, the first time. That's got you to do the technique. Now the second time, bang, it's back. So you've got to do that technique within a time interval between that and that. And it gives you no time at all.
Mhm.
So you've got to have the rest of it, like move out, position of advantage, unbalance the attacker. You cannot automatically depend on having stopped the punch or deflected. You have to be faster than that. And of course, action beats reaction. And so he's going to be faster than you. So you have to be ultra quick on these. Bang, you're out, you're done. And it puts a whole different aspect onto Ippon Kumite.
Mhm.
First time, hold it, bang. The next time, bang, bring it back. And we do the same. We do hooks to the body, hooks to the head. We do it's exactly the same thing. When we've got knives and things like that, we do the same thing. The first is the knife goes out and the defense is done. So second, the knife's coming in again and again and again. And if you don't know how to stop that, you're dead. Well, we know how to do it theoretically, and it works as far as we can see, even, given the fact that, well, Uki like him, he's not trying to hold it back. He's trying never give him a gun because I say, are you ready? And he shoot you, which is not to be shot in a bloody chest.
CO2 pellets.
Yeah.
That's,
They
that's
sting,
nice.
they
That's
sting.
nice.
But it's not difficult for you in your dojo to have some students continue to do it with the holding the hand out, and other students doing the retraction. You can modify so that students that don't want the full-on stuff can just keep doing more or less their own normal JKA stuff. Not easy, but perhaps better than losing all your students.
Mm.
Well, that's the problem, of course, in America. The dojo in America was so centered on trying to stay alive and keep students in, and we had hundreds of bloody kids, and they refused to teach kids. They refused to teach Mawashi Uki to the kids because it's too difficult. Bullshit. I took them within 10 minutes when Eva was teaching them, they were all doing Mawashi Ukis. It's not difficult at all. But anyway, that was another story. That was a big disaster.
But yeah, you see, that's again, I seem to be the only one butting in here.
No,
But
please.
That's a problem in as much as people are. It's not a problem that people are making a living out of their martial arts, but it becomes about having to pay the bills, which means you've got to really pander to the mass market. For me, and I'm only a hobbyist, it only ever was a hobby and an interest. So once I'd walked away from traditional teaching, I think the biggest my group ever was half a dozen students. But I consider that more of a study group than anything else. We'd get together and I would lead, but then questions would be asked and we'd explore stuff. But
that's a bit more like the Okinawan original.
That's good,
yeah,
eh?
Yeah,
you can't do that. You've got bills to pay.
You can't.
No.
But that's trying to marry two antithetical, scenarios.
But
One
I don't think it. A lot of people, I don't know, in Belgium, I'm sure not. In UK, who live from that? from
People make a living at it.
living
You've
out
got
there?
some.
Yeah.
Well, I can think of at least one or two who make a good living. I don't know how many make
They're more
existence.
commercial clubs that teach predominantly children, you know, so
Mm.
that's
Yeah,
Babysitting.
that's like
make their
judo.
money, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's why it was so disastrous for me in America, because and I don't want to teach this to kids. Some of the stuff that we teach, I refuse to teach.
Mm.
On my seminars, I won't teach anyone under 16 because it's not, I'm teaching people how to kill if you have to.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do that to a kid. I mean, look at what they do with knives to each other. That's so irresponsible. I just won't do it. But you're right. The problem is, how do you possibly make a living? I'm lucky in a way that I'm still selling lots of books and DVDs, and now the USBs are really good value because you take the subjects off the USB, put it on your own computer, and then you've got 16 gigabytes of USB to store your own stuff on. Use it as a file store, so it's very good value. But if I didn't have that, well, I wouldn't have made a living at it. I'd have still stayed lecturing at university or something like that, or singing in the band, or doing my TV work, which I had to give up all at the same time, really. But yeah.
So I've got a question for you, Vince, or a couple of questions that are related.
Yeah.
So with the new Rules of Combat book, you've obviously added pages, which means you've added content.
Yeah.
Is that new rules, or is that just expansions and thought processes from the old rules?
It's a mixture of both. There are a few rules that I already knew about, but I didn't put in because I thought they were self-evident.
Credited people with too much intelligence.
Yeah, well, yes, but also I've expanded on it, and I've talked about other things too, like entropy. What happens as I'm getting older? Obviously, it's obvious to me that I'm not as super effective as I used to be 40 years ago in certain ways, but then in other ways I'm better because I'm a lot meaner. But so I've put some chapters in about what happens with entropy and the problems of getting older and what happens to your muscles and how you get around the problem. It's not just saying, well, there's the problems, how you deal with it. And, there's a number of new chapters in the book, but there are a few new rules, but often what I've done is given better examples, I think, of how to use them and when they should. For example, there's something we should talk about. I talked about action beats reaction. We've always had that as a rule, but nobody's really understood it. And I say that with all due deference, you may well have understood this as well. But for example, if Guy puts his fist in my face, okay, and I go, can you see it on here?
Yeah.
And so there's his impulse. Here's my reaction. Now, what's he going to do? That's a reaction. Now, nobody got that far, or very few. They thought the reaction is that's it. Well, no. The reaction is, what's he going to do to my action?
Mm-hmm.
So when he comes in and I go like that, what's he going to do now? The other hand's coming. And I should know that. Or if he's got a weapon in that hand, for example, say I haven't got a gun handy. Say he's got a gun in that hand. I know it's a bit silly if you can't see it. Can you lift it up so you can see it on there? There. Right. And I go to grab the gun. See, he's fucking deadly with that thumb. If I go to grab the gun, this is what I see so many times. People going, oh, well, whack. But it's not going to be like that. This is what's going to happen. I grab the gun, look, it's gone. It's not going to stay there and let you do it. Mm-hmm. So we've gone a step further than that. You have to know what's going to happen when you react. What is the reaction to the reaction? So now we do it slowly. Instead of going like this here and being surprised by him wrenching the gun away, boom, what we say is we're going to expect that. And as he wrenches it, we take it with him. We help him go again. It's judo is a form of reaction to a reaction. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
knowing that things are not so bloody simple. When I explained about action beats reaction, everybody knows that. But they don't go the further step and say, well, if that's it for you, it's obviously the same thing for the person that's attacking you. So immediately you try and stop his attack, he's going to react to that. What's he going to do? You have to know that. And so then we are reacting to his reaction to your reaction. And it happens in a heartbeat, and it makes so much difference to all kinds of physical attacks. And it's again, that's part of something I explain in the book and things like
Bunkai
that.
Plus.
Bunkai Plus, yeah, Bunkai
Plus.
Plus. Because
The
you
other
can't.
sort-
Yeah, go on.
A sort of follow-up question then. You've added stuff to the book and expanded. Is there
Yeah.
anything you took out that you didn't like from the first book?
Yeah, some of my old photos. Photos of my enemies. To be honest, no. I noticed weaknesses in it, like I'm just trying to expand on the action beats reaction. In all of the areas, I could write a book about it. But I grant people with some semblance of imagination, and they can figure this. See, what I've just spoken to you about, it's not rocket science, is it? Now you think, oh yeah, I know that. That's obvious. But how many of you actually did it in Bunkai to react against the reaction to the reaction? No, and there are other, why do we never go backwards? Only as a tactic. And for example, in the Rules of Combat DVDs and USB, I show why. I've got cops in UK cops. Yeah, no, Belgian cops, yeah, shooting at somebody that's coming to kill them, going backwards and falling over the curb. Stuff like that, shit like that. You know, there are rules, and I talk about the 21-foot rule against a knife. And I explain that was never a rule. It was a suggestion of the least time and space necessary to get your gun out and shoot or to run. And there's lots of things in it that sort of takes the rule that's already there, but then people think, oh, that's the rule, that's done. Well, why don't you think about the rule and what does it imply? I haven't written the answer to everything, you know, that's not Vince's Guide to the Galaxy, the book of everything. It's a book of headlines, which has now got some expansions underneath the headlines, but I'm urging people to think. And I also want them to understand I do not know the answer to everything. Although I tell my wife I do, but she's a fifth Dan anyway, so she doesn't believe me. She kicked my ass. But the point is, see, when I was at university, I was teaching Anglo-Saxon for my PhD classes to first-year students, and they would accept anything I said. And I just say to them, but you shouldn't. Why? You're the teacher. Yes, but I could be wrong. Or worse than that, I could be manipulating you. Or worse than that, I could be an imposter altogether. You should never take things at first glance. You've got a brain. Don't give it away and say, oh, Vince will do the brain work. I'll just take his headlines and apply those. No. I tell on my seminars to people, don't believe what I say. Try it. Test me. And you probably, those of you that have been on my seminars, know I say that. I mean, if you would do it to me, come on, try it. And when people, you've seen me with Ukis that are very deferential and they don't want to hit me. And I'll say, oh, for Christ's sake, hit me. And then I'll say, look, do you really think that I'm standing out here and I don't know what I'm doing? No, says he, well, then fucking well hit me. And then they get spurred up and they try, and then bang, then we can do the business. That's fine. But you have to, you've got to use your own brain.
That's one of the hardest things to actually get people to do, I think, is to think for themselves a bit.
We've had a
me and
Bob
Bob,
with that over the years, haven't we?
yeah, me and Bob and Brian have been trying to do that for a while, and some people do. Some people get it and they run with it. But there's a lot of people who are like, no, just keep telling me what you
Yeah, they
need to
just
do.
tell me what to do. Yeah,
That's what they want.
Yeah,
and I don't fucking know
It's
what to do.
easy. It's easy. It's the easiest way.
yeah.
If you just do what you see, it's an easy way to
Yeah.
train.
It is, but it's also a problem with, all right, I'm well past my best before now, but I'm 6'3", 16 stone. What works for me isn't going to work for you if you're 5'6" and
course.
9
Now
stone
you're-
soaking wet, you know?
That's another very good point,
Mm.
because one of my problems I have when I see some instructors, I'm not going to name anyone just today, but they're teaching seminars and I'm there and I'm saying to Guy, do you think that'll work? No. Well, we can't very well go out there and say, look, that's bollocks, try me, because that's going to blow up the seminar. And then I see them teaching techniques, and they're as big as you and often fatter than you and weighing a lot more.
Mm.
And they're teaching this against people a third of their weight in normal days, you
Mhm.
know, and then they're going to teach girls to do the same. They don't differentiate. Well, this technique works for me. I'm a bulldozer. Boom, boom, boom. But girls
doesn't.
and little people can't do anything against bull, and they don't even get out of the bloody way, which is the first rule of combat: move to a position of advantage. Fuck off. Get out of it.
Mhm.
But what are you going to say to teachers like that don't have the understanding that what works for them at 6'6" and built like, I don't know, Humpty Dumpty, is going to work for everybody. It's not going to do it. But why don't they see that?
Because for them is it normal, I think. It's normal if you are huge and strong and it works for you.
Yeah.
Not always we're looking at the possibility that not everybody is like you.
Well, that
And
makes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
that's why you
do
need-
a technique that fits you very well. But
Yeah.
if you then have a class with, let's say,
Teenagers,
teenagers
yeah.
of just women, then you have a problem.
That's why you need to be open to question and discussion about these things.
That's why.
Because what I've always said is that I can only see the world from behind these eyes.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see it. I don't perceive me as other people perceive me. As far as I'm concerned, this is just a normal view. And you find yourself training with somebody who's 5'10", and I had a slight experience of it. I had Malcolm Bates and Izuki come down when I was running the charity camp, and he's 6'8".
Yeah.
And that's one of the rare occasions where I'm actually training with somebody significantly bigger than me, and everything changes.
Yes, it does. And you're lucky to know that, because we've got some students who also teach and they do exceptional stuff, but it doesn't look like what we do.
Mhm.
Well, what do you mean? It's still Kisaki? Yes, but they're like up there on me. They're like 7 or 8 inches taller than me. And when they come to everyone else, you can't do the same techniques because you're always going down on them. You're not coming up under them, or you're not going straight on. Everything's now at a higher level, and it changes what you do.
Yes.
So how is that still Kisaki? Because you still apply the principles, but you change the techniques to fit the principles. But it's a significant point you've made. When big people are teaching small people, it's very hard for them to get the feeling of how is it really working for them.
Yeah.
Because they never had that experience. I mean, other than making them get down on their knees while you stand over them, it's difficult to figure it out. But surely their imaginations should tell them that a 16, 18 stone guy is not going to be knocked around by a 5, 6 stone woman. I mean, I had to teach airline stewardesses and things like that, and tiny little things. And then how are you going to stop them against some drunk rugby player?
Well, that's right. We had a rugby player turn up at the club. He was about 6'5", probably 18 stone, mainly muscle. And you think, well, this is really useful because you can test things out.
Challenge.
because rugby players don't care. They're
No.
literally insane. They like the contact. I mean, people say to me, "What's the next best thing to take up after karate?" I say, "Well, rugby isn't bad if you want a team sport because they like
Yeah.
contact. They're strong. They're used to."
Would it surprise you to know I used to be in the front row at rugby when I was at school?
Not really, no.
No.
They're all vicious,
It's an
especially front rowers.
interesting crossover because I once had a student tell me when we were doing a techie session one evening. I said, "Oh yeah, techie." He says, "The dark arts of the scrum."
Yeah, but but it is difficult. But it doesn't answer the question: is how come these people don't realise that what they're doing is inappropriate for the people they're teaching it to? And I don't know what to do about that. To be honest, you can tell them, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, you're right." Next time you see they do the same
Maybe
thing.
they don't rely enough on technique
Yeah.
instead of just power.
Now that's hard
Mm.
because there's always the adage, rely on technique, not your weight and not your power. That was from judo days. But,
It's very
it's
difficult
always-
to know if you've got the size and the power, because why would you not play to your strengths?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
Which is
course.
fine when it's for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the trouble is that if you're running a seminar, it's really difficult to run a seminar, as we were sort of saying earlier, with all these. It's a much more complicated thing than if you just get everyone to do, say, 20 Mai-Geris up and down, and then or get someone to move their fist this far. That's easy.
Yeah.
But if
Oh,
you've
wait,
got everyone
that's
at
easy,
different
yeah.
abilities, different sizes, trying to tailor it for 40 people, it's quite complicated.
Yeah.
And so they just go, "That's too hard. I'll teach the easy
Yeah.
stuff," and off we go.
Yeah. You've obviously been on Sensei Kanazawa's seminar.
I
Yeah.
never
because-
went, to be honest, because I
No,
always
they do
thought,
it- and then, that's better.
yeah, and you're like,
Come back to
Yeah, I remember that back in the Watford days, and there's 300 of us lined up in a room with Kanazawa out the front, and everybody's gone home. "Oh, we all trained with Kanazawa. Did we? Fuck. I'm standing, 10 rows back, 50
Yeah.
meters wide, doing
Yeah. Yeah.
over. Yeah,
Yeah.
different times.
Anyway, yeah. So, what do you guys think? Do you think there is a future for what we're all doing, or should we just let it go? How
Without
do you
being
feel?
depressing about it, I'm starting to wonder. I think there's a future in it because I'm doing what I want to do, and that's fine. I'm struggling with trying to keep the enthusiasm to take other people with me. That's a personal thing, and I don't know if that's an age thing, but I haven't got the patience anymore. I don't know how Brian and Andy feel about that.
Are they going to say?
I think there is, but I reckon if the Japanese instructors took this on board, everybody would fly with it, wouldn't they? Because it's coming from the homeland as such. Everybody would think, "Oh, this is the way we do it now." But you're trying to make a little difference in your own way, and it's hard. It's a slog, isn't it? I think.
yeah.
Well, what do you? Yeah.
I mean, I started a club mainly because I didn't like the way I was being taught, and I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Mm.
As I said before, I've got a small club. The people who come want to train in the way I train. And we do have varying levels, like you were saying earlier, Vince, because some people don't want quite as rough and toughy as others. But then that builds up over time as they get more experienced. But it's a small club. I mean, it's drowning compared to other clubs. And I think a lot of the people who want this sort of stuff probably go to things like combatives, or they think Muay Thai is more of a physical workout. So MMA.
Like that.
So yeah, I sort of feel like a lot of our potential students are elsewhere because they look at karate, and most people, if they find out I do karate, because I don't talk about it when I do my day job, they find out and go, "Oh, I used to do karate when I was 8 for 6 months," and you're like, "Yeah, it's not the same thing." But they don't know that, and they just think it's a kiddie sport. So
But this is it. I don't think people think karate is dangerous anymore, do they? That's the thing. If they want to do something to defend themselves, they'll look towards, like Vince just mentioned, Krav Maga and stuff like that. Because basically Krav Maga was just karate, isn't it? Repackaged.
Well, it's a triumph of marketing over content, isn't it?
Well, funnily enough, end of last year, we had
April.
was it April? We had a team of 10 Krav Maga come to train with us to learn how to do it properly.
Mhm.
1 week.
1 week.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So I
good.
always-
They're nice guys. But,
Yeah.
you know,
I always laugh because there was a program where two guys, I don't know if you saw it some while back, went around the world sampling different martial arts.
yeah.
And they went to Krav Maga and someone was throwing in a big hook and they were covering and attacking with the elbow at the same time. They go, we've never seen this before. You're like, it's the first move of Hia Nina, frankly. It's exactly the same.
Yeah,
No
it's pretty
difference.
much the first thing you ever used to learn.
Yeah,
One of
that's
his favourite techniques for breaking people's sternums
Mhm.
with that technique.
It's horrible.
It
Yeah.
really hurts.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I did the session with body armor when I was doing it, showing that, this isn't a defensive, this is a offensive technique. It bloody
Yeah,
does
exactly.
a lot of damage with it. Again,
Yeah.
when you're 16 stone and 6'3", it's a lot easier, but it still comes
Yeah.
down to the dynamics and the principles behind it.
It's small people, i.e. Bruce Lee size,
Mhm.
women, they can generate huge power.
Yeah.
If you've seen some of these Japanese young women doing their katas, which are so fast, if you blink, you've missed it.
Mm.
And speed generates power. You just got to learn to apply it in the right direction and at the right moment.
Yeah.
And you're right. All these proliferations of Krav Maga, combatives, blah, 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 they all stem from one root cause: poor understanding of what real karate is. And that's down to the Japanese, without a doubt. Because I've never met anyone that's come, back to Kisaki again, but it's what I know.
Yeah.
I've never had anybody come to one of my seminars or one of Guy's seminars and say, whoa, phew, that's not going to work, or that's not real. They all go away thinking, fuck, that's dangerous. I tell you how dangerous it is. Referring back to the fact that we see things on the tube that we then decide, oh, I'm not sure about that. Let's just try it out. We were sitting in my study here. We watched this guy doing a technique to get out of the rear naked choke. And he's a very famous Israeli, some sort of, anyway,
No, it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. But I said to Guy, do you think that works? He said, well, we must try. So we got up. I put it on him. Within seconds, he'd fallen over, smashed into my table. He was lying unconscious on the floor. And
But actually, the technique that guy applied, made it worse. So as soon as I tried to get out of it, I was still conscious, but I couldn't stand on my legs anymore.
it was gone. But
Yeah.
Oh,
so I thought, yeah, well, nice.
but this shows the danger of accepting what people say without our little added. Do it to me.
Mhm.
Test it.
Mm.
Don't bloody well accept it because it looks good on the television. But it was so I thought he was fooling me. I just put it on and what you doing down there? It took seconds. And what the guy was teaching, this is the crux of it, made it worse.
It made it worse.
His attempt to show you how to get out of it made the technique go on so much faster. We want to do that now, the way he does it, to try and get out. Look, it was amazingly fast.
Yeah.
Normally, I reckon when I put that onto people, it would take 6 to 8 seconds for them to really go out, maybe 10.
Mhm.
He was out and on the floor within 2 seconds, literally taking the
As soon
table
as I
with him,
was
yeah.
trying to do the technique, I was, oh.
Mhm.
So that shows then that this guy obviously didn't test it, which
No, he
you
didn't.
sort of think,
His
why would you
students-
make a video of that? That's just
Well, because he's
madness.
known for it. He's got a reputation for teaching all this reality stuff, and all these people turn up to him and look at him as somebody that knows what he's doing. They don't question him like Kenizawa. You cannot question a sensei, but you know, let's just do what he does and trust and have faith. Don't trust me.
And they don't really try.
No, and they don't really try. Like, they're not ookies like he is. If he puts something on you, you got. I think my only way of getting out of that is to shoot him with the gun I've got in my back pocket, because there's no other way I can get out of it once that's on. Well, he says to me, he says, "That's on, you're dead. That's it," you know. Yeah. But you see all these people, and their students they're trying it, and they're trying. You can see the looks on their faces, thinking, "Oh, I'm not sure about this," but they do it because he's, yeah, you've got to do this, and you've got to try it. Test it. Say that something looks sensitive. Would you mind if I really tried to keep that on? Yeah, okay. Or, well, no, because it's a seminar. Well, no, bollocks to that. Put it on. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, can I have my money back, please? Because why do you pander to people that are ripping you off? And what's more, they're putting your lives in danger. This is the people don't see that. They don't understand that. You know, yes, you can teach someone. The very first thing you do is, as they open their mouth to talk to you, hit them with the right cross, knock them straight out. Yeah, that's fine. And then as you walk away, you see that they've fallen and bust their skull open on the sidewalk, on the street, and they're dead. Well, was that the right move to make? Technically, it worked, but the consequences, that's not good self-defense. You should analyze, is there another way of doing it? You know, you cannot just simply resort to. I mean, I'm glad sometimes I don't have my guns with me anymore, because I can shoot them in the head. So fuck it. The quick answer. Because I've no time for bullies and sadists and these people that. Bullies are the worst kind on the planet. And these kids in England now, they bullying, they're using machetes, and they're stabbing people to death. They're bullies. They've never had what they should have had, a fucking good punch in the mouth from an early day. Oh, that's not bad. Cut that out or modify. No, bollocks, leave it. That's what I think. There's only one answer to bullies, but it's not leaving them stretched out. I mean, I had a situation where a guy was attacking someone else in a nightclub, and he was throttling him with his own tie. He's on the floor. So I took my jacket off, handed it to my person I was with. I'd try to let it go, but so I pulled the guy off. And he took a swing at me, and I just stopped it from down, and I wrapped his eye, and I put my finger in his eye. Just, you know, just put it down, just held it there. I said, "Well, what do you want to do now?" Just waited for the logic to kick in. Oh, sorry. So I let go. He did the same thing again. Threw the punch again. So instead of stopping in this way, I spun him into the wall, smacked him into the wall, grabbed his hair, put the finger back in his eye. I said, "I'm serious this time." Oh, okay. So it all cleared up, and I went to the bar upstairs, and in the mirror, I could see him approaching me from behind. And I got ready to turn around, and he just said, he said to me, "I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened, but I had too much to drink, and I could see that you could have done so much damage to me, but you didn't. And so I want to apologize to you." And it was all over. But I could have killed him. I could have just should have taken his eye out. I chose not to. Why? Because I knew I was capable of dealing with whatever he was going to do to me. So I didn't have to go all guns blazing and make a big spectacle of myself. But that's the problem. If you learn an ineffectual defensive art, you're not going to have that confidence. You're going to end up having to rely on your big weapons right from the start. And I hear it all the time. Well, as soon as it starts, just bang, knock them out. Yeah, but I know of people even in Japan that have been caught in that situation. They punched someone in the head, fallen down, dead, and in jail. You know, you have to be able to have a decent martial art which has got more than one weapon in its armory. It doesn't always have to be the revolver shot or the shotgun blast. There's got to be room for soft as well as hard. That's the Goju. You have to have that, and to do that, you need knowledge. You need to know how to defend, what techniques are available to you, because you have to know your own limitations. And how do you know that? By training with an uke that's really trying to get to you. So it all comes down to changing what's happening from the static Japanese easygoing way. But for those that want reality, you've got to learn your limitations. For example, I used to have a technique in the dojo where I do a switch for Ashibarai straight up to the head, bang, wawashi. Can't do that anymore. So I don't even teach it anymore, because I figure if I can't do it, most of the people I'm talking to can't do it either. So know yourself and know your enemy. You know, that's the other rule of combat. Know the weapon, know yourself, know your enemy. And if you don't challenge yourself as a sensei, I mean, if you don't have students that really try to get to you or that really put you under pressure, how are you going to learn until reality strikes?
So my thought there is, if you haven't got students who'll do that, you're not a very good sensei, because you've obviously not brought them up thinking for themselves.
Well, that's true. That's true. And you tend to attract those that stay, let's put it that way, are the ones that are attracted to the reality of the situation. Of course, on seminars, it's different, because 90% of the people, they don't know you from a hole in the ground. No. And they're brought up to respect the sensei and not do anything out of the ordinary. So,
yeah, that's an interesting thing when people turn up to our seminars, and that's the way they've been brought up, and we're not those people. Yeah.
But that's something in your book, though, isn't it, Andy, about a good uke being worth their weight in gold? And,
well, they are. I mean, really if you haven't got a good uke, how can anything work? How can you try anything? I mean, obviously you've got Guy there, who's, it sounds like you just test each other continually, which is fantastic. But if you haven't got that in your club and everyone just reveres you, then you're like, well, what's the point? I mean, let's face it.
Yeah. If your uke doesn't attack properly, the first thing that suffers is your ability to judge the timing of the attack and the timing necessary to deal with it, because he's not going to do it as fast or as roughly or as powerfully as reality. And if you do that, you're learning to stop a fake technique and in a fake time interval, in a fake self-defense frame.
Yeah, you're
well, that's not going to be good to you, is it?
As well, aren't you? So it's just confidence. You're thinking,
well, that's like I relate back to my point about in the bar with that go. I didn't have to hurt him because I knew he was no threat to me. It was like playing with somebody. I was able to show him that he could have been hurt, but I chose not to do it. Now, if I didn't know how to do that, what would be my answer? Pull him off and start a big punch up. Well, it's not John Wayne country anymore, is it? We know that you get hit by even one of those big punches and you're out. You don't have there's nobody saying cut, retake, reset, start again. So reality in Kisaki Kai is everything, but we insist on the concept of reality, which means understanding the situations people get into, what's likely to happen and what's not likely, and how are you going to defend against the most likely thing first. That's another rule of combat. Learn to defend against what's most likely to happen. Put little green Martians with ray guns at the end of your list, not at the top of the list. And so it doesn't mean you have to go full out straight away, because we don't. When I get doing techniques, we don't go slamming into each other right from the word go, especially because I'm old and delicate now, so he has to be careful with me. So he does the techniques sort of slowly. Mind that arm, mind that eye, mind that knee, mind that rib. It's a whole catalogue I have to read out to him, but he's not allowed to hit me.
But also, I think a good uke has to know what happens if you get hit and if you stay there and say, something happened. Yeah. No, I didn't feel that, because you didn't do it. But you have to work. It's actually work together, to get the technique done, and the uke has to get off balance even if it's not for real or not really hard.
Mhm.
Have to get the real approach of it.
The
Otherwise,
movement.
yeah. Otherwise, you stand there
Yeah.
on a rock. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Until the next
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Well, I don't know the answer, but I know that Guy and I are going to keep on going. We're having a hell of a good time here.
Well, that's the thing. If you're having fun, I think, you know, individually, all of us are probably going to keep going for some years, and whether it'll
As
carry on as a thing, who knows?
Yeah. Well, I'm enjoying life here. The one thing that's different for me now is that I don't like to travel so much. I mean, I've been all over. I've been Australia a couple of times. I've been teaching in Kenizawa's dojo in Hong Kong a couple of times. I've been to Hong Kong. I love Hong Kong. Been in Bangkok. I've been in America. I've been all over. I've been to Belgium.
Even been to Swindon. I mean, you know, so
Even to Swindon. That was forgettable.
the scariest.
It's not. Yeah, I like to meet new people and go to new. I hate the travel. The experience of airports and flights and that's not funny anymore. And sitting with my bad back on an aircraft for 12, 20 hours, I'm not going to do that. So what we're trying to do is encourage people to come to train with us here in France, south of France.
And enjoy the good weather.
The good weather and
So
the
that'll
beaches.
be the way to train
Yeah.
the Lynch now, then, will it? To come over to France.
Well, we'd love to have you all.
Yeah.
Yeah, every September we have a 3-day camp, and we have people coming from all over, and it's not. And look at it now. The weather's beautiful. The sun's out. We're in our t-shirts. I'm in my shorts. I don't know what it's like back there in England, but I bet it's not like this.
I've got my padded shirt on to keep me warm. I'm telling you.
I was thinking about that, you know. But look at us. Look, t-shirts and shorts. And outside the sun is belting it down. But
even you do private training.
Oh yes, we do private classes here as well. We've got 6 coming from Germany in a few weeks to train with us. We've got my own little dojo here. It's not a big thing. It's not, but it's good enough. It's matted and it has little facilities and
max of 6 people.
6 people at a time. So we're having private classes. We've started doing the end of last year, working really well. For me, I'd love to teach people. I love it, but I can't do all the traveling. I hope to come back to the UK next year because now I'm more or less over the problem I had with my 3 visits to hospital with my back operations and sepsis, which was, I thought I was going to die. Worst feeling I've had in my life, I think, that I can remember. 6 months of me being more or less on my back, not even able to walk. I'm sort of getting over that now, as you can see.
About that at the start, actually, because obviously you've had that back surgery, so you're pretty mobile and things are looking good now with that.
Well, more or less.
Yeah,
it's not been a total cure, but I'm not trying. That sepsis is a bastard. That makes you so ill. I had 6. How many months of antibiotics? 5, 6 months.
5 or 6.
Yeah, antibiotic transfusions, antibiotics 3 or 4 times a day, vomiting, diarrhea, not able to walk. I couldn't walk. Anyway, enough of that. But if it hadn't have been, I think, for the determination that I've got through my training, I would have given up. I was tempted to just say, I can't do this anymore. But then he bang on the door, come on, training.
Good a good friend. As well.
But anyway, the thing is, it's made me decide that I really don't need to push my body through the ridiculous travel experiences. So if people want what we do, come to us. We look after them. It's a good time. We have meals. We have lots of camaraderie. We have people from various different countries. And
September is always a good seminar.
Oh yeah, 3 days in September. So pen that into you guys will be very welcome. I think
I assume it's in the newsletter when it comes out, which because you still send out the free newsletter, don't you?
Yeah, occasionally. I haven't done it so much because obviously when I was ill, things had to go. But there were 1 or 2 of come out already now. There'll be another one out very shortly. But also people can find out, they've just got to go to the kisakikarate.com website, www.kisakikarate.com, and it has a list of all the seminars and forthcoming events, and all the information you want is there, plus all the books, DVDs, videos, stuff to download, lists of instructors and dojos and all that kind of thing. It's all on that main website.
So,
But
First time is Germany.
we got Germany in
April.
In April, we've got a couple of days seminar in Germany.
Guy, do you go and teach seminars on your own around Europe?
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yes, I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay.
He's the only, well, other than me, he's the one you should go to, because
Obviously in the UK we've got Don as well, haven't we? Don Kane. So
Don,
Okay,
yeah.
he's doing one, just in case anybody's listening to this and they hear it before the weekend. He's in Milton Keynes this weekend.
Yeah.
With John Johnson.
I keep encouraging people to go on my Facebook page, because
Yes,
I think it's an excellent thing
Don's
to do.
fantastic.
Don is awesome. Don's really good.
Yes, yeah. He's been with me about as long as Guy has, really.
Mhm.
And he came from a taekwondo background, as much other things. He actually kicks better than you think he might, which is a bit of a sod.
Yeah, I've seen Don kick, actually.
Huh?
So
Yeah.
Mostly in September. In September, he's mostly always here.
Oh
also.
yeah, he's here. Plus, we've got Jerry Smullins here from the Irish chief instructor. We had Phil Oakes from America here the other year. We have guys from Sweden. We have Germans. We have Dutch. There's loads of, everyone comes, and it's a hell of a good event. There's a big dojo too, which is a really nice dojo. So if you're thinking of doing something in September, please come, because we'd make a fuss of you, you know.
Oh, that sounds good.
So anyway, is there any other question you want to ask me before we call this?
So the only
to
other
an end?
question probably then is, when do you think Rules of Combat is going to be out? Because obviously that's essential reading for everyone in my dojos. We probably recommend about 4 books that they have to read, and that is one of them. So a new
Thank you
copy
for that.
I'm quite excited about.
Well, it should be out by the end of next week,
Wow.
available. Now you can either order it from us directly from that kisakikarate.com website, or from Amazon. And to be frank, you might as well get it from Amazon, because the postage will be cheaper. But if you want signed copies, the only way you can get it is to get it from us.
Well, signed copies for
It's
sure.
not going to be expensive. It's not. It's about 20 euros. That's it, something like that,
Mhm.
for 240 odd pages. In fact, just wait a minute. I'll talk to them. I'll get you.
Get it.
Okay, we'll show you the book.
Yeah, I was saying, for me, it's been invaluable. You know, so we've incorporated it in our syllabus, the Rules of Combat. So you know, when we study Bunkai, has it got any of these rules? If it hasn't, it's not worth it. You know, so it's important that whatever we're studying has to have the rules. And as an aside,
I'm pleased to hear that.
when I've gone to other systems and I look at what they're doing, I think, are they following the Rules of Combat? And then, you know, it's worth training in. You know, so it's really good.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that. This is the new book. This is it's got publishers thing. It's not the
World exclusive.
Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic.
It's quite different. It's a lot thicker than the other book.
Yeah, I've got the old one here.
Oh yeah. See what I've done though? I kept the samurai on the front, but I stuck me on it as well this time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To keep a bit of consistency.
247 pages.
Yeah, 247 pages.
So maybe
And it's
once we've got that, we might have more questions once we've read the new version.
Yes, yeah. It's a good 5 minutes read.
So one of the extras obviously said about training in older age, and there's a bit more about weapons in it. You said earlier, is that right?
In
the new version, a bit more about weapons.
A bit, yes, but it's not a training manual for technique.
No,
I mean, we've got some videos coming out soon which deal with proper firearm defences in real type situations and proper knife defences in real situations, not fake shit, you know. So we've got those coming out. But the book itself, it's more or less, it's got a chapter on keep it simple. Hands only do two things: fight, protect you, and harm the enemy. Action beats reaction. And then we go on about the flinch reflex that I was talking to you about earlier on. And there's something, but we do examples from the police training and stuff that we give. But there's a lot of writing in here. It's not all, you know, it's not all pictures. And it's experiences when I used to go out in the Los Angeles Police Department on warrant arrests and fugitives arrests and things like that. All good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, this is, I don't know if you can see that. It's a picture of us in a restaurant. That's where the debriefings were held after the arrest. Go to the restaurant, have breakfast, because they're always done at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that. There's a, you know, I hope you find it interesting. It's not all completely new because a lot of the stuff bears repeating, but it's expanded, I think, where it's necessary. And I didn't want to go to the route of showing you techniques for everything, because it's not what the book's about. It's the rules that underlie the techniques, not the technique. Because you may have your own special techniques and you might think, oh, I can do this. My answer is, if it works, use it. But just study the background to it, study what underlies it. And therefore, it would have been a big mistake, I think, to start showing, well, this is what you do. This is, we've got little clips of how to deal with that now. And it's they're done on the same sort of level. Like you start, for example, the firearm techniques. Someone sticks a gun in your face and it's a plastic gun, rubber gun. So then you show the technique and then you do it quickly. And then you say, okay, now let's use the reaction to the reaction to the reaction. What happens when you grab the gun? What's he going to do? So you go down that route slowly and then you do it faster. And then we say, all right, put the helmets on, get the gas guns with the pellets. Let's see if it works. If it shoots you, you're fucked. Go back to the drawing board. So we show all that. We show the progress, the development of techniques. So people can't say, well, he's not really trying to shoot him. Well, he fucking is. I've got the bruises to show it where I get it wrong.
And I guess the thing, if you find what works, is following the rules, basically.
Yes. And even I had to invent the new rules of combat. Now you've got to react to the reaction. You can't just say, oh, that's the rule. As soon as he moves, I'll react, you know, because he's not going to stop there. As soon as you do that, he's going to react. So we follow the process down the line. And that you do the same thing with knives, same thing with punches. You never can. What the problem with the Japanese versions of theirs is it always stops, boom, like that. Everything ends there. And then whatever you do, you've got time to go out and have a tea break, come back in, and he'll still be standing there waiting for you. Well, life's not like that. We all know that, but we'll go, oh, yeah, that's great. Look at that. Fantastic. But it's bollocks, because when people put, boom, that's it. That's done. Did you stop that? I hope, she said, because otherwise you're on the floor. Well, Bunkai has got to be an absolute scenario of what happens, not what you wish would happen. And so the rules of combat should give you an aid, not the complete answer, because the technique's the real answer, but they aid the answer to be delivered effectively. That's what the rules of combat are for. So therefore, going back to the point, it's not full of techniques. These days, I'd rather show the techniques on my videos and USBs, because you can see them working. And also you can do what I do. You say, oh, stop it. Look, stop the frame. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Maybe you've done that and you've dropped your other hand. Well, that's left your head open. Oh, okay, that's not right. So we start again. We'll keep the hand up this time. Like the first rules I ever put into the rules of combat was always keep your hands up, always. And always around the face area, never down here. I mean, the Japanese stand with your hands down by your sides. You might as well stuff them in your pockets, because that's all the good they're going to do to stop a punch from real distance. Well, we don't even do real distance, so you're safe. Okay. So you inculcate a habit like that, which stays with you for the rest of your karate training, like hikite. You guys stop doing hikite, I hope. Well, or at least you maybe sometimes try, and you think, fuck it. How do you stop it? Because it's automatic. You do yakky boom, the other hand comes back. Well, that's how many boxers do you know survive that do that? Punch with a right hook and drop their left hand while they do it.
Yeah. It's the thing I found. Brian and I were at a seminar this weekend, and although I'm trying to do what the instructor's doing, breaking force of habit when things start to get a bit faster and a bit speedier and a bit closer, you can't. It's just breaking a habit once you've got it in there is so hard.
Very difficult.
You better inculcate good habits, because bad ones are hard to break.
Yeah.
And that's why we say right from the start, hikite is just done here. Just done here. That's it. Because it's obvious. Bang, that's fine. Bang, it's there. You don't have to take it all the way out. Why don't you hit me here while I'm doing this? It's even people, and this is people say, well, it worked. I see so many people, they do mawashi geris, Joden mawashis, and they kick with the right leg and they pull the right hand right back. Well, yeah, but why don't you just keep it here? We can't do it. Yes, you can. Even I can do it. So I teach people to do mawashi geris holding their ears, so they can't drag the hand back. And you try it sometime if you want, and to start off with, it's horrible. So you start with Joden or Chudan mawashis or Gedan mawashis. But in the end, you find you don't have to do that to use a foot. You can just keep it like bang, and you still bang in this fighting protective position, which, like a boxer, no boxer's going to throw a right hook and take the left hand away like that. He wouldn't last a round. Anyway, that's getting back to my hobby horses now.
We've come full circle.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, guys, this has been fantastic. I'm sure. I think Guy's talked a lot of shit, but luckily I've been here.
Luckily you were there. Luckily you were there.
Oh. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, gents. Anyone listening, please go buy the book as soon as it's out, because it will be worth the money.
Well, when I edit this up, and as usual, I won't be doing a lot of editing, because I think a conversation is a conversation. I'm not trying to change the content of it, but we'll put something up with all the links on where to find things and where to get the book from and whatever else. So if there's anything you want included in that, send it through to us.
I will do, yeah. You've seen how great I am at technical shit. It might go to anybody.
Well, we aren't anybody.
No, but for me, it's encouraging too that there are so many senior karateka that appreciate what we're trying to do. And I recognise the difficulties it is for you too, because I don't teach in a dojo anymore. I can't now. I don't want to. And where would I find around here that? No, it's difficult. The job that you're trying to do, obviously a lot of it, as you've admitted to, it's private satisfaction of being able to get on with your own life and training in what you think is important. And I have to say, I admire you for that, because that's what is needed. People that are big enough to stand on their own 2 feet, big enough to think their own thoughts, and big enough to admit to it and say to other people, you know, what you're doing is nice, it's pretty, but it's not real. It's not the reality that I'm looking for. Now, what can I say? If you didn't exist, I'd probably given up years ago, because I do need some sort of encouragement. I don't want we don't have fucking Vince going on again. But at least I'm consistent. All right, guys. Somebody's had to switch this off, because show me a camera and I'll perform forever.
That's fine.
Thank you, Vince.
Talk to you all soon.
Appreciate it.
And see you at the seminar in September in France. I'm not going to let you off the hook now. I'll keep at you.
Keep nagging.
Sunshine, sea, sand, sangria, Oh, and some training. How about that? Yeah.
That's perfect.
All right,
That's
switch it
perfect.
off because I might as well stay
Okay.
here.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Cheers.
Bye.